Hello and welcome to Audible Anomaly, the podcast where we foster deep and meaningful conversation to help get you through your darkest days. I'm your host, Josh. On today's episode, we are changing up a little bit and we are entertaining your questions. That's right, you, the audience. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's check in with my lovely friends. I have no idea who I'm throwing it to this week, so let's go with Kevin. How was your week?
My week was okay. Just nothing eventful going on, really. Average humdrum week. So,
Hey, that sounds fairly pleasant, especially by comparison. But
it wasn't bad, certainly.
Excited for next week?
Yeah. Starting a new job next week.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing that update, as I'm sure our audience is as well. But yeah, we wish you all the best for that, for sure.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Davey, how was your week?
Oh, stressful. Stressful to say the least. I think you know well, and Kevin, I'm sure you heard while we were venting before the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of stuff going on at work that, things aren't really being talked about enough, and really it's just kind of the people at the bottom that are getting drilled the hardest and are expected to do the most. And, when mistakes are made, they're the ones who get reamed the hardest. But, one day at a time is kind of how I'm taking it. And I'm just glad that we have a longer weekend to enjoy. I'm surprised we actually got the day off. Our job is not known for celebrating holidays in any facet. So I'm glad that we actually have the extra day. How about you, Josh? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. Definitely stressful. I already got reamed once for something that frankly wasn't in my control. And I know next week it's going to happen again. So again, not entirely in my control, but I mean, it's a matter of circumstance and communication breakdown. But I mean, like you mentioned, just take it day by day. And we'll go from there. Exciting update for me. I finally finished officially the data analytics certification.
Nice.
So I got that taken care of now. So, hopefully we can start. I still need to work on my portfolio and resume and stuff and all that good stuff. But there are some pretty good tools. I was already kind of looking at them that Google is providing as a matter of passing that certification. So kind of use that and kind of see where that takes me, really. So that was kind of the positive for the week, for sure. We take those, right?
Absolutely.
We take those.
But yeah, other than that, don't really know if there's anything else on my week. I guess I've been losing a bit of weight. That's been kind of going steadily. Been tackling some fasting a little bit, and it's been helping me out quite a bit. So, yeah. So that's been the update for me. But
would you say that fasting has been helping you lose weight quickly?
I'm almost sad you didn't go with the pun. That was good. I was actually not expecting that at all.
Thank you.
I was hoping you just lean into it, but
yeah,
that was good. Yes and no to answer your actual question. It's like yes, but especially when if anyone ever decides to go do it down the fasting rabbit hole, I guarantee you the first couple weeks you're going to lose a lot of weight. It's mostly water weight, and you're mostly going to gain it back once you stop the fast. But yeah, so it's like it's been a couple of weeks, so it's like, yeah, of course the weight shift has been drastic, but we'll see in the next couple of weeks where it actually starts falling in. But it's trending in the right direction, and I'm not really hangry, and I'm getting in the groove of things, so it's
good deal.
It's all right. It's all right. All right, so let's get into this week's Q&A episode, because that's effectively what we're doing. So we asked, maybe not on the socials, but I kind of asked a couple of our usual suspects or friends, just because the whole week was, like I said, a bit of a blur, and It was a little hard to get motivated to do much, to be honest. Very, very much felt the weight of anxiety and depression kind of sit on my shoulders a little bit heavier this week. But, it is what it is. But, like, so we get through it. So I didn't quite update the socials. But I did ask for your feedback. And I've also been listening to previous episodes feedback whenever someone like had a question or asked them a question and they gave me something that wasn't quite in line with that episode. It's still an amazing question, and I wanted to hold on to those. So we finally got enough of them to where I think we can do a full episode out of it, and here we are. And I think we'll do these periodically, just because obviously we try to do themes every week, but every now and again there's something that kind of doesn't maybe fall into those themes and are something that should be communicated or talked about a little bit more. That, like I said, maybe doesn't necessarily fall into one of those weeks. So we have 5 questions here lined up today. All of them are absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to get into it. So without further ado, let's do that. Our first question comes from the photographer. He says, in terms of mental health, we all have our own unique ways to clear our minds, whether it's putting some headphones on and jamming out or playing video games. For me personally, it's sending lead and brass downrange. Granted, apparently that's gotten expensive lately. But he asks us, what are your favorite ways to clear your stressed mind?
I think for me, performing is my best way. Which is kind of tough for me because I don't get to do it often. And the only really avenue I have right now is streaming. And unfortunately, if I get too stressed, I don't want to turn on the stream. But yeah, it's just performance has always been a great way to clear my mind because I don't have to. The only thing that matters in that moment is putting on a good show or becoming the character, which is why I love improv so much. Because I just I'm no longer Davey. I'm John G. Gobenheimer, I'm that person in that moment, and I just get to live in that moment. And that's why improv, I think, is so important to me and a lot of improvisers in the improvising community. Is there is no thinking. It's just going and doing and not stopping and not judging and not worried about your next move because you're not allowed to be. And that's freeing. I think I was listening to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with he's a YouTuber. He does a lot of songs. Mark Reblier, I think his name is pronounced, but he does these live streams. And he did one with Wayne Brady. And Wayne Brady was talking about, he's like, yeah, it's important. And he's starting this organization to get other people to do improvisation. Man, I can't speak today. I don't know what's wrong with me. But he's saying even just 5 minutes of just sitting there and pretending something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Maybe it's a little song. Maybe it's playing a little character, talking to yourself, talking to somebody else, just all in improvisation. It's a great way to get your mind moving and not thinking about the stress. So if you can find it, I think it's it's a very cool stream because they're all just making stuff up as they go for an hour, and Wayne Brady is amazing. But I think he really says it best. So that's my thing.
That's a good one. That's interesting. For me, I like naps just to get me out of a funk, and reading and Photo said, video games. Those are good too. It's similar. Just get yourself out of your usual mind space into something else.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I know one of the things that I've been trying to implement more, at least when, especially at work, for instance, where you don't not really allotted that time to kind of break away and do your own thing. Doing what I believe it's called the physiological sigh, which is you breathe in long through your nose and you take a second nose inhale, like a quick one, and then you exhale slowly. So it kind of looks in practice like, and sorry for people on the audio version, you're gonna hear me inhaling, but it's type thing. And I mean, even now, you can literally just feel your entire body just kind of like relax. And like it just untenses a little bit. So you just do that once or twice, long inhale, short inhale again, a second inhale, very important, that second inhale to what it does for your mind, and then the slow exhale. And for some reason, in the neurology of that ends up really helping you to de-stress. So that's like the thing that I've been trying to like implement a little bit more, where it's just like, okay, I need to like just calm down a little bit and then let's get to it. But for me, the other way that I like to de-stress, especially at the end of the day, one thing I kind of forgot about, frankly, was music. Because I used to, love music in general, and it's something that I've kind of fallen out of recently. Kind of forgotten about it, to be completely honest, to an extent, just because I've been busy with like a bunch of other crap. But aside from that, definitely the video games helps. And by video games, I really just mean Rocket League. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna kid myself. And kind of just spending that quality time with the wifey. We kind of have our rituals of watching things like Good Mythical Morning, or like on the weekends if there's a Formula One race, we always go out of our way to like watch qualifying, watch the race, etc. And so it's like just doing those little things, kind of how I like to de-stress. So, no, not sure if you guys have thought of any others.
I mean, and just in the vein of like work, I find myself like just standing up, just stand up from my desk, stop looking at my computer. Like even if there is nothing to do in that stand up, obviously it's good for like blood flow to stand up and like move every hour. They said 5 minutes every hour you should get up and move. But I think it's great for the mind too. It's a great refocusing. It's a great just minute to step away from looking at what is stressing you out. Stand up, look around, observe your environment, and only focus on the environment, and then sit back down and get back to whatever you're doing. I think, at least in my ADD riddled brain, it really helps refocus me too. Because like I get lost in the work, I get distracted, and I think I can't go forward. I can't physically go forward. Step up. It doesn't exist anymore. Sit back down.
Podcasts are another one that I listen to quite a bit, especially at work, because we were able to just listen to podcasts. It's so good.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to In the Dark, # not a sponsor. In the Dark season 2. My God. Crazy. Just a little elevator pitch, because it's absolutely mind blowing, and honestly shows the systemic racism is still unfortunately a thing, especially in the South, where this takes place in Mississippi, I believe it is. A man is tried 6 times for the same murder. He keeps getting real guilty, and then found guilty, and for one reason or another, case gets thrown out. So it's like, I think 4 of the times was prosecutorial misconduct, and twice was a hung jury. But it's just wild, that whole ride. So if you have a chance and you love, especially like true crime podcasts, it's a good one. But not a plug. Yeah. So I guess we'll move on to the next question. But thank you, photographer, for that awesome question. Moving on to the next question, Kelly hits us with arguably my favorite question of the week. Imagine your mental health journey is a book. What is the title of that book? What would you title the current chapter you are on, and why? So I think it's easier if we start with the current chapter. So we'll go with, what would you guys call the current chapter that you are on in your book of mental health?
I'm going to take the super easy road out on this one and just go with a number. This one's 28 because I'm 27. No, that makes sense. Okay, you're 0. You're not 1 year old yet. That's you're 1. We don't start on year 0.
I think we got it.
Okay. Just making sure. Some people don't, man.
Although I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could write a chapter on my mental health about year 0 to year 1.
No, I would definitely need help with that one.
Yeah. I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know my mental health from ages 0 to ages 10, honestly.
Yeah. But that's probably a good thing, you know? If it wasn't like standing out to you now, it must have been okay.
Sure.
Yeah. I just don't have great memory.
I feel that.
All right, I'll chime in with mine. This is I literally couldn't think of anything else, and I thought of this in like 5 seconds as soon as I saw the question. But my chapter would be called "The Recurring Nightmare" for multiple reasons. Part of it being back at work, and that's being a little bit more challenging, we'll say. But also just in general, even before that, the recurring kind of depression and anxiety and stress and all that stuff has been kind of weighing on me a little bit more again, like it was during my high school years when it was at its worst. So it's like kind of coming back. So it just, in all facets, I think it just made the most sense.
Sure.
How about you, Davey?
Well, I think every one of my chapters would be a question. And I think the current chapter would be, am I alone because I was wrong?
Okay, elaborate.
There's a lot of reasons, but it's a lot of like my mind beating itself up. I have an issue of feeling alone, even though I don't think I am alone. I have dealt with the issue of thinking that no one likes me. And I think obviously very clearly as a performer, you want everyone to like you. There's narcissism in performance and there's narcissism in acting. Like that's just what it is. Like you just want people to like you and enjoy what you do. Otherwise you wouldn't perform. But I always have this feeling of like, oh, I'm the surface level friend. I'm the friend when it's convenient. And it eats me away. Even though I know it's not true, it eats me away. And it just a lot of stuff in the last like year or two where I've lost friends for very dumb reasons. And even though I think that I'm right, and I feel like I've done everything right, I just wonder whether it was because I was wrong and whether I'm the problem. Because clearly there, I have to be some kind of problem somewhere along the line. I am the reoccurring key, the reoccurring puzzle piece in each one of these problems. So that's what it is.
I don't think you're the reoccurring. I don't think you're the problem, but
I mean, I don't think I am either, but that's not what my mind says.
For sure. Conversation for another time, I think.
Yeah.
But
conversation for a therapist. To be honest.
To be, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think that would hurt at all, frankly. But yeah, I was there for at least the most recent, and
it was yeah. I mean, and you've heard what happened for both of them, and it obviously there was not much that I could do, but it still doesn't help.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it definitely doesn't. Yeah, it's just an unfortunate circumstance or matter of happenings, methinks, but It's one of those where, yeah, you just have to be there to support them. So I can do.
Yeah.
You know, I won't get into that because it is a question down the road. But what would you call your book? And Kevin, if you call it just your name, I swear to Bob.
I thought about it. Give it a lot of thought there. But no, I mean something a little bit more poetic, like The Long and Winding Road. Yeah, mental health has its ups and downs for everyone. That's what I would go with.
I'm stealing the one that kind of Kelly. Kelly called hers adulting, and I'm like, the bewilderment of adulting would be a great title.
Yep, that's a good one.
So, if my chapters are all questions, I feel like my title should be 2. So,
is it why are you reading this?
No, it's definitely not why are you reading this. I don't know. I think it would be what have I lost? Would be the title of my book. What have I lost?
Honestly, though, that's not bad.
I've dealt with a lot of loss through my life, and I feel like each chapter would deal with another loss that I have dealt with.
Yeah,
friends, family, ambition. My little Neopets toy, little blue dragon Neopets toy that I've been looking for the last 15 years.
Yeah, that one hit you hard. I remember you talking about that.
Understandably. I mean, if I didn't still have my little green Neopets toy for the last 15 years, where would I be in life?
I know that seems funny and weird, but that's the real truth about me. And I feel like it's some kind of weird metaphor about me losing my childhood. Because I feel like I've always been looking for this toy in my teenage years and in my adult years that I feel like I should still have it somewhere. But
I know that you've moved several times now. Like if you didn't bring it with you, it's gone forever, man.
No, I know. I understand that.
Okay.
But you have this little, like, I go through some boxes every once in a while. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I have this. Every once in a while, I hope it's that little blue Neopets toy.
Wait, blue or green? You said it was green earlier.
I said green.
Kevin said green.
Oh, Kevin said green. Okay, he said blue. Okay.
I had to make it a little bit different, you know?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I had the same toy.
Well, that you know of. Maybe that's where it's been for 15
years. I didn't have a
years.
Neopets toy, so I was just making it up.
I think it came from like a little McDonald's meal.
Oh.
Like a little McDonald's toy. It's just like a little plush dragon, blue dragon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did y'all ever play Neopets when you were younger?
Yeah.
It was so cool. It was so good.
There was a lot of good functionality in it.
There are people who still play that to this day, by the way.
It's still around?
Yeah. It's still pretty popular.
I mean, it's just one of those things like fits an age group well.
I don't know if popular would be the right word, but there's definitely a niche for it.
Yeah. Popular enough for the website to keep going.
It's more than Club Penguin can say.
Oh, don't even get me started on Club Penguin.
Rest in peace.
Rest in penguins.
Chapter 3. Why did I lose Club Penguin?
All right. Perhaps we're ready for the next question.
I think we're next. Yeah, I think
maybe.
Maybe. So thank you, Kelly, for that awesome question. The next one, Aspiring Fate, hits us with, how does your mental health struggle manifest for you physically? I thought this was a good one because, especially for me, unfortunately, I seem to be more in tune with it just because stomach is probably the first area where I really feel it. So, yeah, it has just been something that I've been dealing with since like high school, unfortunately, but become a regular part of, I guess, my daily routine. But the other area that I'm starting to notice it a little bit more, especially after I got Bell's palsy, is in my face. I do feel a little bit of like not tingling, but like tightness every now and again. And I think part of that most likely stemmed, at least getting more aggravated during the Bell's palsy, but I have a massive overbite. I've had that since birth. And before, really the only solution was, oh, if you want to fix it and not have it be so pronounced, we can break your jaw in a couple places and, you'll it'll take about 6 months on liquids to recover. So I just never really like done that. Although I do know now there's a handful of procedures where like it's just a couple of incisions, quick, couple days, you're good, but just haven't had a chance to really look into it. But that has actually, but the overbite itself has caused the development of TMJ within my jaw. It's effectively the muscle that connects your jaw to your skull, which kind of comes up here, kind of wraps around your chin, and kind of connects over here into your kind of cheekbone area. I used to know the word for that, the official word for that, but whatever. I don't need it anymore. I only needed it for the test. Thank you, Anthro. But yeah, it wears out, and every now and again it'll spasm. I haven't had that anytime recently, thankfully, but for a minute it was getting really bad, especially after Bell's palsy, where it would spasm and just feel really tight and just hurt and be very painful. Apparently, I'm not the only one that deals with that. The wifey and her mom, I believe, also kind of suffer from it, and it comes in waves. So, fortunately for me, it's really only kind of stuck in the tightness, especially, and that's the other kind of downside with the masks whole thing situation because of the pandemic. I find myself, especially when talking and stuff, I bring my jaw forward for some reason, and I tend to clench a little bit when I have like a mask on and I'm talking and such. So then that also aggravates it a little bit. It's like
interesting.
That's usually where I feel my stress. But other than that, how about you guys? When do you guys feel physically feel your mental health woes?
I think there are two big areas for me. I think the first one is just general exhaustion, right? Especially after a day at work, when I feel like I have just fatigued all of my emotional energy or mental energy, and I may not be physically tired, but I can't seem to do anything more than just step through the door and sit down in a chair, and all I've been doing is sitting. Plus, I feel like it doesn't help me get sleep. Maybe it's my mattress, which I need to change out, but also it could just be mentally, I can't fall asleep, and thus I have a terrible night's sleep, and I wake up exhausted, even though I've slept 7-8 hours. I just didn't get that rest that I needed, or my mind was too stimulated through it all. And weight, I think they're two very common things for a bad mental health is fatigue and weight. Mine comes more of I'm not able to actually get this weight off because of I feel like I'm mentally stopping myself from pursuing those things that I need to pursue. Even though I know I can access those tools, I'm not doing it. More of almost like self-destructive reasons. I can't seem to go through the process of losing the weight I know I need to lose.
Definitely feel you on the weight thing.
Yeah, it's tough.
Definitely a what is it? Stress eater.
Mm.
Which is part of the reason why I just started fasting, because kind of mitigates and controls that to an extent.
It's a good strategy. I don't have to deal with the stress eating or the weight, but for me, definitely the sleep as well. I get a lot of sleep or no sleep when I'm stressed. It's one or the other for sure.
Yeah,
but that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, and if especially if you get a couple nights of one or the other, it's not a
Oh yeah, it becomes a vicious cycle.
yeah. Sleep deprivation especially is crazy.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. That is good. We'll move on. Thank you, Aspiring Fate, for that question. We'll move on to Meerkat. I'm gonna wifey actually threw in one for us here. It's a great one actually too. What are some tips you have for supporting friends or family who are struggling with anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues? And sometimes this can be a bit challenging for people. Tips for just supporting friends and family.
I think one of the biggest things is reassurance, and I think this even goes for people in like negative or downward spirals, or have these very like, how do I want to do it? Negative habits, bad habits, right? There are everyone's different, and how they want to be approached is different, right? There are some people who love affection, and sometimes the way to get them through is a lot of affection, right? Be there, talking to them, and constantly loving on them. And there's some people who just hate that. I don't want it. I want to deal with things on my own. But always a little bit of reassurance of the good things that they do, I think always pushes people in the right direction. Because even if you want to be alone, if you're told you're doing something right, you feel better about it. And you want to keep getting told, do better. Not do better, but you are doing better. Because I think negative affirmation isn't always great. Like, I have the problem of being very petty, even when I don't want to be, even when I shouldn't be. So if someone tells me I'm doing something wrong, or, oh, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, my mind immediately goes, I want to do the bad thing. I want to do the bad thing because I want to be the one who makes the choice.
Mm.
You know? So just, even if they're doing a bunch of bad things, reassure them and give them positive affirmation for the good things they're doing, even if it's just 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, definitely just being that support for them. I know it's something that, especially with like me, dealing with the wifey and like anxiety, it's like it's such a tough one because it's like I don't know how like I can help be supportive all the time, just because it's like I know I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I understand exactly what she's going through, because let's be honest, I don't. Uh, but at least for me and what I'm trying to do, and it's something I'm working on, especially, is being more empathetic. Because for me, I struggle, especially after dealing with stuff in high school. I realized that I was and am rather callous, especially when it comes to other people and dealing with mental health. Because part of it was this dumb idea of like, hey, I got out of it, so can you, get over it. But also knowing that's easier said than done, right? So at least for me, what I'm continually trying to just work on is, being there, and I want to say there's like was it the love, not the love languages, or there's something I remember there being like ways people like everyone's a bit different in how they like receive or want to receive like love and affection. I want to say like one of them was like touch, one of them was by giving like gifts, one of them is receiving gifts. There's like 5 different areas. I'm trying to remember in the back of my mind what it officially was called, but I know especially with both me and wifey, we're very touchy, right? Like we want to be touched, people just want to be held. So it's like I personally just have to do a better job of like giving her hugs and, reaffirming, but knowing how like your friends and family, how they would like to receive that affection definitely goes a long way into you being able to support them and like just tell them, hey, I know everything looks dismal and that's okay. We'll figure out how to get through this together. And always trying to be like, hey, at least for me, it's always trying to say, hey, you're not alone. Just if you need anything, if you need a vent, if you need to talk, anything, I'm here for you. Yeah, how about you, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what both of you guys have had said so far. Pointing out good things amidst the bad and just being available to them for whatever they need. But listening to them, kind of the biggest thing for me. Hear out their problems and not necessarily try to solve them. Like, you don't have to fix their problems. Big to remember that.
Yeah.
Mostly you guys have covered the stuff that I would have said.
Yeah. So apparently it is technically the 5 love languages. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the 5.
I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, I think that might makes a lot of sense, actually. That's part of the reason why it came up premarital counseling. Which I technically still need to finish.
Really?
Yeah. For what it's worth, and this will be maybe the answer to the next question. A lot shifted last year.
That's fair.
And we had to figure out a lot, but yeah.
Another little answer to that, one thing that I find myself doing a lot, and I've been doing it a lot at work specifically because there's just a lot of people there that are just stressed and filled with anxiety, is what can I do to help? Is there anything I can do to help? Because, Kevin's right, is you don't have to provide solutions to their problems. A lot of people just want to vent. And the answer, for the most part, to the question, what can I do to help, is most likely going to be nothing. There's nothing you can do to help. But I think it also just puts the idea in their mind of like, oh, like there's someone who just wants to help me. Like there's no alternative motive. They just want to help. And I think that alone is like, sometimes I feel like when someone says, oh, you're not alone, I'm here with you, I take those as hollow words just because they're used a lot. And it's kind of a cliche in a lot of regards. So it's just sometimes it's finding the little things to say to someone, I'm here for you if you need me, without saying, I'm here for you if you need me. Because dealing with death and unfortunately having a lot of people in my life pass away, you get that a lot. Like you get that a lot. I'm here if you need to talk. If there's anything that you need, just let me know. But like, no one wants to be the person that has to reach out for help. And you hear it so often, you stop believing it. Because everyone says that to you. Even if they don't know you, they say it to you. But if someone says, what can I do to help? Hey, could maybe you come help me cook dinner real quick? Cool. It's not something that is having to do anything with the stress, but it's a problem they still have to deal with in the day. They get a little bit of help, and sometimes it can ease the mind. So I've always found that being the best way when someone's dealing with something big. It's just, how can I help? What can I do for you right now? Doesn't have to deal with the problem. Just what can I do for you?
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. Or kind of on the flip side, asking that person for help can also be very helpful. It distracts them from whatever they're doing. It reaffirms that they are useful in at least some capacity. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely like actions speaking louder than words, for sure.
Good question.
Great question. All these are great questions. Let's be real.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Anything else to add there, or shall we move on?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. All right. Thank you, Meerkat, for that question. Last one. Jeezy hits us with, what are some challenges, difficulties, and hardships you've overcome or are currently working to overcome? How can what you learned, or sorry, yeah, how can what you have learned help others? I wrote it wrong, and it threw me off because words are hard.
It's okay.
If there's anything I have learned from overcoming that sentence, it's write it correctly so other people know what you're trying to say. No, but challenges, this, yeah, I feel like you can go a number of ways with this. I'm not sure which one of you guys want to take over the helm here.
I'll jump in. I've definitely had mental health problems. Got a lot of help with that. Really, it's just you want to talk it through with a professional, and if you can't do that, like find whatever you can. But aside from that, like academic difficulties, I was an awful student. Like I needed so much help just getting myself motivated to do academic work. And then sometimes help understanding the academic work. Really, the solution to most of my problems has been ask for help. Like be comfortable asking for help, which is tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
But you gotta do it.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, I've always been of the mindset, and I think all of us are kind of similar in this regard, where it's like every single day we want to continue to learn and we don't want to stop learning just because it's fun. However, that learning, maybe even if it's something as trivial as a square meter or square foot of contaminated soil, can wipe out the entire banana crop in the world in about 10 years.
Of a nation. Of one contiguous landmass, perhaps.
Okay. See, you weren't specific in that last time you gave me that tip.
I feel like I said nation. It's tough. Really, plantation would probably be best, but more generally, nation.
Fair. But definitely asking others for help is, yeah, I mean, it to an extent, it shows that you are no longer prideful of whatever it is you're doing. And, you kind of have that, I feel like it's perceived as like weakness in some regards.
Oh,
like,
totally.
or people perceive it as weakness. Where it's like, really, you're just knowing your own limitations, and you can't expect to grow if you're not trying to grow, But yeah, that's asking questions. Definitely a good one. How about you, Davey? You look like you want to say something.
I mean, how long you got? But no, and I think I'll focus on just one thing here.
Mm.
In
You got a
bear, yeah, okay. Oh, fuck.
Time starts now.
No, I will focus on embarrassment because I feel like I am in this point of my life that I just don't get embarrassed by things anymore. I mean, everyone gets embarrassed by things, but like I just generally get embarrassed a lot less. And it's something I think as like an introverted person, as someone who always wants people to like them, it's a hard hurdle. It's a hard challenge. And I know a lot of people get stage fright and concern and all of that because of embarrassment. They're afraid they're going to say something wrong and people are going to laugh at them. My biggest tip with dealing with everyday embarrassment is do something weird. Start small and then get bigger. And don't be afraid to be weird. Because if you're confident in your weirdness, people won't question it.
And that's people. No, but people won't question it.
All right, be confident in your weirdness.
No, people won't question it, If you're a little bit weird and you're confident and you're bold and you're brass, people will just accept it. You'd be surprised what people just accept Like I have said I all the time. I do this all the time. But I will go to people and I will just say something brazenly wrong. I will just say something crazy wrong, but I will say with so much confidence, people will be like, "Oh, okay." Because like you don't really have to be afraid of the general, as long as you have the confidence in what you're saying and the confidence in your weirdness, people just accept it for what it is because they're like, it's different. I don't know what it is. I believe them. And I feel like that is a great way to, the more you embrace the weirdness of who you are and the more you push it out, the less embarrassed you'll be of your mistakes because that's just part of your weirdness. And people have come to accept it. People just enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. Mine, I feel like mine's not quite the same as yours, but along kind of a similar like parallel track. Like for me, I've always been the type of person who like tries to play it safe in a lot of things, and just, I mean, to the point where like, and I don't know if it's just some mild OCD in me or what, but like I would not, I don't like getting dirty. Like I still eat pizza with a fork and knife, and it makes people angry, but it's like I don't want to get my hands dirty. I don't have to wash my hands. Like, especially when I douse it in sauce. Every now and again I tend to add a little bit of barbecue sauce, a little bit of ranch, sometimes some sriracha, mix it up a little bit, you know. But it's just like for me, it's been trying to step out of your comfort zone and maybe not necessarily be weird, at least in my case, but take a bit more risk. You know, be open to failure and not perceive it as, oh, you failed, you are a failure, rather than you failed, what can you learn from this to move on? And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for me. I think going through life, that and being just an emotional person in general. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I was very much wore my heart on my sleeve, and it's weird because now I feel like doing a little bit better job of controlling it, but I feel like I've overcorrected to an extent, and sometimes I guess now I'm more callous, and it's like just finding that happy middle ground that I'm still trying to work through and figure out. But yeah, for me, I think it's stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit, taking a bit more risks, and just using those, or at least how I can apply that to like teaching others and stuff is learning from those mistakes and seeing where I went awry and being able to kind of communicate that, just because as we saw with like the college episode, right, we all had different paths, and I mean, to an extent, at least in terms of college, we had a failure of some sort in terms of what people stigmatize as success in terms of college, but we persevered through it, whether it would be by avoiding it altogether because it's just not for them, or eventually graduating, and going through it, right? However we want to. So it's one of those where I feel like, especially as we continue to churn out episodes for the podcast and sharing more stories and getting to know people, and eventually, if that leads to having guests on, which I think might be an inevitability, it'll be picking people's brain and going from there, you know. But I think continue to grow and continue to share our experiences, and hopefully that'll be beneficial for everyone. Part of the process. But yeah, that, and I guess the other one, communication. It's the other main area that I'm working on because I am garbo at it. To be honest.
Communication in general can definitely help solve a lot of problems or prevent a lot of problems, which just leads to less stress, less challenge for you down the road.
Yeah. Like I said, I think especially with like me and the wifey, for example, like in terms of that relationship, it's mostly relational communication that I struggle with. I think we've never really had an argument. The only time we've ever had a disagreement or something was literally just due to a lack of communication. like 99% of the time on my end, if not all, every single time. Like, so just communicating and using your resources and get a little weird.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good foundation.
Definitely.
All right. Any questions that you guys may have that you want to throw in? Or are we actually going to finish on time?
It's a good question. I think we could do it.
I think we can. Okay.
We might be able to.
All right. So I got to wrap this up in 1 minute. No. No, but thank you, Jeezy, for that question. And thank you all for those questions. I'll do a better job of being socially active on social media. It's been a trial for sure. Been a challenge, but we'll get there. We'll find our happy medium, and yeah, we'll continue to talk at you. We'll continue to grow together, and we hope you follow us along for that journey, because it's been wonderful, and I know it's gonna have a bright future, and we'll continue to do this until we don't want to anymore. Pretty much how it works. But before we get going, just want to do some plugs here. You can follow us on the social media at socialmedia.com. No, at Audible Anomaly. And if you want to shoot us an email, you can hit us up at audibleanomaly@gmail.com. And if you pepper us with enough questions, we'll have enough for another episode to do this on. So definitely would be good. Always fun to just pick your brains and see what you guys are thinking. Definitely helps us out, because it sees where we can grow and where we can continue to talk more on and focus on. So it honestly helps us quite a bit, more than frankly. But other than that, you guys have anything to plug? Go, Davey.
As always, you can find me on twitch.tv, DPRL Tron, DPRLTRON, twitch.tv, DPRL Tron. We have a blast.
Sometimes blast off. All right, how about you, Kevin?
I kind of want to plug in a lamp. It's just a little bit dark in here, so I might do that.
Good call.
Never cease to amaze me on these. Yeah, for me, you can find me at Bromium404 on YouTube and Bromium, wherever you get your social media. Next week, I thought it'd be fun just to lighten the mood a little bit, talk about our weirdest quirks/habits, because I can guarantee you I have way too many. But yeah, we hope to hear from you then on that episode, and on this episode, and every episode, because we love hearing from you. Until then, though, we've been Audible Anomaly, and we'll talk at you next week. Bye!